Hello landlords, it's Ernie, your landlord attorney, and today we're talking about what you need to inspect before, during, and after your next lease. Let's get started. So you're interested in protecting your most valuable asset, your rental property, and you don't want to just set it and forget it and hope that your tenant's going to take care of everything while they're there, or the things are just going to work out, because they don't. Either your tenant's not going to love your property the way you do, and time is going to wear down your house in some ways. And so it's important that before, during, and after each of your tenancies, you're taking some time to inspect at least these three main things. The first is your air conditioning system. What are you doing before, during, and after a tenancy with your air conditioner? Are you taking some reasonable, very easy steps that are going to save you a lot of money ultimately, and probably a few headaches during any lease term with calls in the middle of the night that things have broken down? Landlords, I hope you're enjoying today's video. As always, please don't forget to give us a like if you're enjoying what you see. Subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. Follow us on Instagram and join us on Facebook. Well, naturally, you're going to want to inspect your unit before anybody comes in. You're going to want to check to make sure that the unit itself is in good working order, that it cools the house, an empty home, adequately during the summer, and that it warms the house adequately, again, an empty home before you lease it to anyone, in the winter. Anytime before you are leasing a property, make sure you've taken the steps to go in and make sure that the unit itself is cooling the home to a proper temperature. If any of the rooms are not cooled or warmed to an adequate level, you're going to want to get your AC checked to make sure there isn't something wrong with perhaps a vent, or maybe your unit just is running out of gas and you're going to have to replace it anyway. You may as well do it before you get a tenant calling you in the middle of the night complaining about how hot or how cold things have gotten, and now you're calling somebody at the worst possible times of the year when it's really cold or really hot. You're going to have the hardest time getting an AC guy. During the tenancy, you're going to want to change filters and make sure that your tenants know if the obligation is on them to change the filters, the kind of filters that you approve, and the amount of time that you're okay passing between new filters. If you have a specific filter that you like and you want it used every month or every 3 months, establish that with your tenant. But check in at least once a year. You should be on the property, if not twice, and you can go in and simply check the AC vents. If you find filth, you're going to want to replace those filters yourself and have a talk with your tenant, especially if it's their obligation to change it. Additionally, you're going to want to check the drip pan on your AC unit, especially if it's upstairs in a place right over the ceiling below, right? Because if your drip pan is full of condensed water that falls naturally from the AC unit, it should flow out and it should not be an issue. But sometimes there's a problem with your drip pan and it's overflowing and dripping onto your ceiling, and you see this big watermark. It's not your roof in this case, it's your drip pan costing you money. If you check it on a regular basis, you can prevent these kinds of damages to your home. Now, after the tenants have left, check the AC unit once again and its performance. Has there been a substantial drop in the output of this thing? If it's a newer model, this could be signs that either A, there's some kind of manufacturing defect in the unit that you're going to want to get checked out, or maybe it's later in life and it's time to replace it. And so after the tenants leave, even if there's been no complaints from the tenants about the unit itself, if you, because you tested it before, can pinpoint a definitive drastic drop in its performance, that might be a clue to you that it's time to at least start considering your options with regard to refurbishing or replacing that AC unit. When it comes to plumbing, it's very simple for you to be able to check all of the faucets, all of the toilets, and all of the showers and sinks to make sure that water is flowing in and out of the home the way it's supposed to. It doesn't take you long to go through the house, but what you don't want to do is lease a property to a tenant, get a house full of furniture in there, and then have your tenant call you and say the upstairs bathroom does not flush. This is something that you easily could have checked, and that they could have checked too, but again, it's about that call. It's also about the customer service that you supply to your tenants. It's not complicated to check every faucet, every toilet to make sure that water is going in and out the way that it should. If one of your toilets is filling but it's not filling properly, there could be a quick and easy solution that you can handle before the tenant ever steps in. If one of your faucets is cranking out water in a color that it's not supposed to, that's a sign that you need to get some work done, and it's better to get it done before the tenants are in than waiting until after they've taken possession. During the tenancy, it's typical for things, especially like toilets, for small parts to break down. Maybe a handle fell off, or maybe the toilet just isn't closing and the water just keeps running and running and running. This is going to cause problems with your utility company and waste. And these are things that are easily preventable. When you go and make your inspections during the tenancy, check the toilets for those small parts that can easily be fixed and replaced, even if you have to do it. You should always carry spare parts that you can easily tend to while you're there on your inspection. The garbage disposal is another one. Is the garbage disposal running properly? Are there things down that garbage disposal that shouldn't be down there? And does it need to be addressed during the tenancy? Give it a look. It's always helpful to make sure that these things are running properly, and a quick check by you, again, could prevent all sorts of future damage and additional costs. Now, when the tenants leave, as far as your plumbing goes, you might think about what needs to be upgraded and what needs to be replaced. It may be that the fixtures in your shower just aren't functioning anymore, and for as many do-it-yourself remedies that you've tried to clean them and make them look nice, you're better off just replacing. And so after a tenant has vacated, and essentially before your next tenant comes in, you may consider whether or not maybe these tenants use these things too harshly and it's time to upgrade. Finally, your roof. What do you do before your tenants come in? Definitely think about the condition of the roof. One thing you can check for is, are there signs of damage from your ceiling? We talked earlier about the drip pan from the AC, but sometimes a leak from your roof can also show up as water damage on your ceiling. If that's happening, you need to get up on your roof and address those issues before it turns into something more substantial. Now, during the tenancy, it's important to address whether there have been some weather events that require, attention. Just because you're not living there doesn't mean that a hailstorm or a windstorm that comes through doesn't significantly damage your roof. Your tenants may not make a claim because it's not their house and it's not their insurance policy. But if you know of particular weather events that have come through, especially major ones, it's a good idea for you to go and check the condition of your roof. Don't just assume that everything's all right because the tenant hasn't called you with a complaint. If there's been a major weather event, go out, get the roof checked out, file a claim with your insurance company to make sure that your roof is in as good a condition as you can possibly keep it. And then ultimately, every roof needs to be repaired or replaced. And so after your tenant leaves, get up on the roof or have someone go up on the roof to check things out. Is your roof old enough to justify a full replacement? If so, get it done. If it just needs a couple of patches here and there, and you can get by with a repair, then get that done. These are not the kinds of things that You can properly deduct from a security deposit because it's not likely that the tenant went up on the roof and punched a few holes or, made the roof a little, lumpy. But we know that over time, these things just happen naturally to a house. And so get up on that roof or have somebody go up there for you and see, is it time to repair? Is it time to replace? Landlords, I hope you've listened carefully to these tips. I hope that you've learned a couple of things about what you should do and anticipate every time you're bringing in a new tenant or sending off an old tenant, and also what to do while your tenants are occupying. And many landlords just kind of set it and forget it. But again, you can protect your asset so much better if at least once, possibly twice during the tenancy, you go by and visit your home, see how things are going. I'm glad you're here watching now. I anticipate you'll probably want to watch some more. There's a video right here that YouTube seems to think that you will enjoy. But until next time, happy leasing.